Well, hey y'all, thanks for coming out tonight. We're so honored that you guys would sacrifice your date nights, get babysitters, to come spend it with us. So we're truly grateful. So let me start with this. Let me ask you the question. What comes to your mind when you think of college? What comes to your mind when you think of college? Do you picture it as a place where faith goes to die? Where students go off to sow their wild oats for 4 years and then hopefully get back on track later in life? Or do you see it as a place where professors look to undermine traditional morality and values, or make men and women doubt their faith and their spiritual upbringing? Now, I will say none of this is untrue, as we believe there's a great amount of competition for the hearts and minds of college students. But what if I told you college doesn't have to be an obstacle to the gospel, but that it could actually be a place where spiritual awakening starts? So, crew, we believe that college is one of the most strategic times in a person's life. It's a time in which they can hear the good news of the gospel and put it into action. And here's a few reasons why. I was thinking through this week, why do I think college ministry is strategic? And I just want to give you a few reasons. The first reason is that students are starting fresh. So think about it. They're making decisions for the first time on their own in their life. They're deciding what values they're going to have, what friends they're going to make, but most importantly, what they're going to live for. I've heard it said that most people come to Christ in either the two T's, trials or transitions. And I believe that college is a huge transition for most people. Another reason why I believe college ministry is strategic is that they're teachable. Students ask questions. They consume information at rapid levels, way faster than we do, and they can put it into action. And actually, this age group, 18 to 22, I mean, when they are passionate about something, they go do something about it. That's how the age is wired. Another reason why I think they're strategic is that they're future leaders. College students, they'll graduate and they're going to go on to lead in every domain of society. Government, religion, military, education, even sports and entertainment. Our future leaders will be people who went to college. Another reason is that they're unfettered. Had to look that word up. I wasn't really sure what that meant. Yeah. All right, forget me. So that's one. But they have more time on their hands, right? Unfettered means they're not restrained. They have more time on their hands. They're free to take incredible risk. They're unfettered by commitments, mortgages, career ladders, and kids. And they're free to go anywhere that the Lord leads. That's why so many people graduate college and go straight to the mission field. And then we see another reason is that the college campus is growing. Well, if you've noticed, but it is the norm these days to go to college. And in fact, in the past decade alone, the college population has doubled. And then the last reason I just want to share with you guys is that college students are seeking identity. They desire significance. They want to feel part of something bigger. In this generation on campus right now, Gen Z, I know they get a lot of bad publicity, but actually I've really grown to love Gen Z because they don't care about making lots of money when they get out of school. They want their lives to have meaning. They want to fight for causes that make a big impact. You know what? We want to be there to show them a cause worthy of their life, right? Jesus Christ. We want to be able there to show them what it means to have purpose, what it means to have a relationship with Jesus Christ. And if they know Jesus, what greater cause than living for that could there be? So let me just share with you a quick story. You'll get to hear several stories tonight, but this is a quick one. Hannah is a prime example of this. She's a senior at Converse who will be graduating in just a couple weeks. And she's a vocal performance major. She's always envisioned herself going to grad school and then finding a career in the opera system. She's an opera singer. And so just a few weeks ago, Hannah decided to put those dreams on hold and to follow the Lord's leading into interning full-time with us for a year. So I reached out to her recently and I said, why did you take the step of faith? Instead of continuing in your plans, and this is her words through a text message, she said, COVID put a monkey wrench in my plans, and it made me question whether that's actually what I'm supposed to do with my life. I started to wonder what God's call in my life was. I love Crew. It kept me connected to Christ when I was struggling, and it helped me grow in my walk with God. The idea of helping students connect with Christ, grow in their relationship with God, and creating genuine Christian community while also growing in my own faith was really appealing and purposeful. I know it will be the most challenging and rewarding year. Another Converse grad, Rochelle, who's here tonight, was one of the ones serving the food. She has just recently decided to put her plans on hold as well and to come on staff and use her vocal cords, amazing singer, to serve the Lord as well. So college is supposed to be a place where young minds are shaped and prepared for the workplace and world around us. And we long to see students come to know the Lord, to grow in their faith and to live on mission wherever they go next. Whether that's in ministry, whether that's a nurse at a hospital, an elementary school teacher, small business owner, whatever it may be. All these places need believers who are actively sharing Jesus with those around them. So I'm honored to labor alongside a team of faithful men and women many of you just met, and we have one common goal. And there's about 20 campuses in our scope, containing roughly 70,000 students and 6,000 professors. Currently, our team is on 5 of those campuses, and we're all in the upstate of South Carolina, and we've seen the Lord do some incredible things, many of which you'll get to hear from tonight. So next, I want to invite up my wife, Jessie, along with Alex, Quay, and Natalie, and they're going to share a little bit about what the Lord's been up to in their lives. But first, if you turn your attention to the screens, here's my friend Australia, who was just unable to be with us tonight because they're on spring break. Check this out.
My name is Estrella Siegel. I live in Manassas, Virginia. I'm currently going to school at Commerce University. I'm going to be studying biology. Before coming to Christ, I felt really separated from God. As a kid, I was really involved in church, but because my dad was in the military, we had to move around a lot, and so we never really stayed up on church for very long. Also, as I got older, I became more competitive with gymnastics to the point where I was spending 25 hours a week practicing, and also I had competitions on the weekend in school, so I really didn't have much time to spend time with God. I came to really know Christ through one of my teammates, Emily, who had invited me to a Bible study with Emma at Crew. During that Bible study, I told Emma that God wasn't really a part of my life at that time. And so at the end of that Bible study, she asked me if I'd be willing to receive Christ, and I did. Now that I've accepted Christ, I feel closer to Him than ever before. When I'm struggling, I know I can count on God and His Word to bring me back from any negativity that's going on in my mind. Prior to receiving God, I felt disconnected from His Word, but now with the help of the amazing community I'm part of at Crew, my relationship with God is growing bigger and bigger.
I love just watching, videos and hearing Estrella's story. When we asked her to share, it was interesting. She really wanted to be here, but she had a competition game. And I remember she told us, I really want to share. Is there a way I can share, to encourage you guys? And it was important for her to share her story. And just something that stuck out to me was, she said, I know I can count on God and His Word. And that's just incredible to hear students believing that and saying that. And tonight, I'm here with 2 current students and 1 former student. And so I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. Why don't you guys tell us your name, where you're from, where you go to school or where you went to school, and what you're currently studying or doing.
My name is Jaquavius Glard. I'm from Pendleton, South Carolina. I'm at Spartanburg Methodist right now, freshman. And I'm studying graphic design.
My name, hello? Sorry about that. My name is Alex Tapia. I'm from the huge town of Lone Star, South Carolina. I live in Spartanburg now, but I am at USC Upstate. I am a bio pre-med major, and yeah, so about me.
Hi, my name is Natalie Golden. I'm from local here in Greenville, South Carolina. I went to USC Upstate as well, and I graduated in 2017 with my nursing degree, and recently just got married. Just hit 1 year, so it's exciting stuff. Currently working as a nurse still.
And we're just so excited to have them here, and I'm just basically going to ask them some questions, and they're just going to share a little bit more about what the Lord has been doing in their lives over the last year. So, Quay, how have you grown in your faith since coming to college?
Really, it all starts back in middle school for me. When I was 13, I gave my life to Christ. And yeah, that was a big step in my faith. And one service back at home, I stood up and told everybody like, hallelujah, and all that stuff. So, and yeah, that was great. And fast forward, but back after that, I thought, I was good. I can do whatever I want now. I just have to trip back to heaven. But no, that wasn't the case. So fast forward to high school, I was doing all type of worldly things. Wasn't really pleasing God. When quarantine hit, I really had a lot of time. Pretty sure a lot of y'all had a lot of time to yourself. And I was at home just eating. And I said, man, I'm in quarantine. I need to do something. I'm gonna do something. So really, I started, just started getting my mind right. I wasn't really big with my faith yet, but getting my mind right because I was just getting over depression. That really helped me take another big step. Fast forward to my senior year in high school last year, I started going to FCA, and yeah, another big step in my faith. And really, I said I want to go to a college, more like a Christian college, and just share my faith and stuff, all that, and get more closer, have more of a relationship with Jesus. And came to Spartanburg Methodist, probably one of the best decisions I've ever made. Me just hanging around crew, met Pete like on the second day of school, and I'd say God has helped me on that campus so much. I can feel myself getting closer to Him just about every day, and every time I sin, I feel convicted. So, yeah, my faith has grown a lot ever since I've been in college.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Quay also has been one of our MCs at our crew meetings, so that's been really cool to see the Lord use him in front of everyone else. Now, will you share what difference has Christian community made in your life?
Man, one big one is patience. Bro, okay. I always want to just want to get a step ahead of God, but that's not the case. He literally just pushed me back. He's like, oh man, get behind me. Yeah, I have trouble with patience. With anything, with school, decision making, any relationship. I always try to get ahead, but God has really just calmed me down, and I just humble myself and just pray to Him and just ask for forgiveness. And if I just trust God's timing, I'll be fine.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. We could all use some patience. I know I can, especially at home. We've got 3 little girls, so I feel you there. Alex, will you share, tell us how you've seen the Lord work in your life over the past year?
So yeah, me and my disciple Reed, we sat down the other day. Shout out to Reno, but we sat down, and he was like, what is your story? And I kind of thought to myself, kind of the past year more so, but lot's happened in the past year, and a lot of people have been placed into my life that the Lord's just kind of worked, through me with. And I would say, it started kind of in the summer of 2021. Went on vacation, had been asked to join like an accountability group, and that's kind of where everything started. Started feeling convicted of a lot in my life, and prior to that, the community that I surrounded myself with was very not God-centered. And, I've done, a lot of, worldly things. I would say, I like to be very transparent. I've drank, gotten drunk, I've smoked weed. I've done a lot of, things that we would consider bad. And it all started with the accountability group, and my buddy, he put me on with Crew, and I actually showed up one day without him, and started mingling, and I met a bunch of awesome men and women at Crew, and met my discipler Drew, and he's really helped me grow in my faith. And it's been just a world of a difference since I've just joined and started to interact with people who pursue Christ the way he was intended to be pursued. And I like to make the comparison. We were talking about it. In 1 John it talks about kind of like the light and the darkness. And I've known Christ since I was like 12. I've known of Christ. I was exposed to the gospel at a very young age. And I always saw myself in the darkness, and I could see the light. Kind of how this bright light shone in my eyes, but I could see the light, and I knew I was supposed to be there. I was like, that's where I need to be, but I just wasn't in the right environment to grow and go to the light. Met all these amazing people, and the Lord's just slowly inched me towards the light. And there came to a point where I was halfway, like, do I want to stay in the darkness or do I want to be in the light? And I was like, yeah, no, I want to be in the light. And now I like to, be so transparent, because I like to acknowledge that the darkness was there, and that's where I don't want to be anymore.
Yeah, thanks. I love that analogy of the Lord drawing you up from the darkness to the light, and revealing those things, and just even bringing the community of believers around you. Is there a specific area that you desire to see the Lord use you in the future?
Yeah, I definitely want to do, missions work. And, I used to want to go to school to become a PT. But, as I grew my relationship with the Lord, I felt the call to harder things in life, to do the harder stuff. And I was, felt like to become an actual doctor, MD or DO, I feel like that's how the Lord would be able to use me the best. Not to say it's the only way, but, I felt like I could do a lot. And so, definitely want to do missionary work, be able to share my faith better with people and bring up spiritual conversations. It's kind of turns out a lot of people are open to it, but definitely that's kind of the direction I want to take.
Yeah, that's incredible. Thanks for sharing that. So now we'll let Natalie share a little bit. So Natalie, we knew each other when she was in school back in the day. And would you briefly describe your time in college and just the ways that the Lord grew you?
Yeah. So prior to college, I accepted Christ when I was like 17. Grew up my whole life in the church, but never really knew Him until the brink of college. And when I started going to upstate, I was so alone. I was commuting to campus from home. Anyone who goes to upstate knows it's not like a massive big college like USC or Clemson. And I was just really searching community, same as Alex. And I literally just went on Upstate's webpage and I was like, Christian community in the search bar. And Crew was like the first thing that popped up. And I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go and like see what happens. And I just fell in love. I think they were doing a game night the first time I came, and I was like, wow, like Christians can have fun, okay? And anyway, so at the time I was going to a very legalistic church. Like they didn't believe in instrumental music worship, like anything. It was very strict. And Cru was very different, and I just slowly felt my mind and my heart being molded and exposed to a different way of grace and truth and identity. And I was just like captivated by this. I was like, wow, like I just want more and more of this. And I met my 2 closest best friends who actually helped introduce me to my husband. So, you know, it all comes roundabout. But, and then the biggest thing was I was able to go on a medical mission trip with Cru my senior year of college, right before I finished nursing school. And at that point, I had already gotten all the like physical assessment stuff, knowledge down in the books. And I just wanted to learn, like, what does it look like to tie your faith in with what you do for a living? And truly, I mean, it was the most challenging trip. We went to the west coast of Africa for 6 weeks, and it was challenging because it was hot, and I don't like the heat. My husband will tell you. But it was also just challenging because you're seeing these broken people at their lowest, and you're also learning how to minister to them physically, but then also learning how to assess where they're at spiritually. And a lot of these people were Muslim, and you know, they would literally get kicked out of their family if you preached the gospel to them and they accepted Christ. So just, it really gave like a really big perspective change coming home from college, or coming back from the trip.
Yeah, thanks. And so, I know you shared some of this already, but how has your involvement with Cru prepared you for even living out your faith today and what you do?
Yeah, so definitely, like I said, that trip really changed my perspective, just how I saw God, how I saw nursing. I knew when I left college, I wanted nursing to be my mission field. I wanted it to be a place where God could work within me through my patients. I wanted my patients to see me as a safe place that they could confide in. And I've gotten to work in multiple different areas so far as a nurse. Right now I'm working in a home health field, and I love it. It's so much fun. And yeah, like I said earlier, it's just the most vulnerable time to be with someone at their lowest, when they have wounds all over, or they're brokenhearted or depressed, and I literally get to share the love of Jesus with them and just love on them. So it's a privilege.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So Natalie, you and your husband Joseph, you've been volunteering this past year with Cru, actually at our Greenville Tech movement. What ways have you seen the Lord work through the college girls there?
Yeah, it's literally been
College
incredible.
students.
college kids. Well, you aren't kids, you're adults. But no, so Andrew Trent introduced himself earlier, and when Joseph and I were engaged, we knew we wanted to spend our first year of marriage serving in some form of capacity. And we had heard through the grapevine that Greenville Tech and the movement he was leading could use a little extra help. And so we just met with him one time, and he was like, yeah, we only have one student leader, and maybe like 5 to 10 people show up on community nights, but like there's such a need here. And we both just felt very called by the Lord to pursue what he might be doing here at Greenville Tech, especially considering like we both knew what it felt like to not have that community in college. And so we just started coming, and I had the privilege to disciple 3 beautiful women, one of who is here tonight, and just literally just getting to watch them grow in their faith and their love for the Lord, and sharing the gospel with others. And literally, so we started out with like 5 to 10, or previously last year, Andrew said there was like 5 to 10 students max. The first community night, what was it, Andrew? Like 50 people came? It was crazy. And yeah, and then 3 more student leaders were equipped just this past semester. So like, we're not even needed, it's great. Like God's just, I don't know, he's amazing, and it's so encouraging for us to be on the sidelines and witnessing to it.
It's also been super encouraging for us on this side to see how Greenville Tech has grown. I mean, it's been phenomenal, just the changes that have happened in the last year. So just so encouraging to hear that and hear the way that you and Joseph have wanted to volunteer and just serve and minister to college students. And I just want to thank Quay, Alex, and Natalie again. It's not easy being up here sharing and, you know, being blinded by the light, but they're up here and sharing. And so would you give them a round of applause for doing that? And so now I'm going to introduce one of our crew staff to come up here, John Lancaster, and he's going to be accompanied with one of our faculty, Dr. Shelley Myers.
All right, thank you. Just love hearing the student stories. It's like, that's what those lights really are bright. It's like, that's why we do what we are called to do, is minister to the students. So I get to work with college professors, Mark Bushlone, wherever you are. We get to work with the college professors through the Ministry of Faculty Commons, which is the professor ministry of Crew. And so a lot of you, probably, if you were in college, you tried to avoid your professors because they're intimidating, or you thought they were trying to keep you from getting a good grade. Now as adults, you don't see college professors because not many of them are in our churches, and they're rare. It's like they're less than 1% of the US population, yet they influence millions and millions of college students in our government. Many of them become policymakers. They write op-eds in magazines, newspapers, blogs. They have tremendous amount of influence. And most of the time in the Christian community, the news is bad about college professors. You might have a friend whose child lost their faith because of the influence of an atheistic professor. Or you might see in the news where Peter Sanger at Yale advocates infanticide up to the age of 1. Or Bart Ehrman at University of North Carolina, a New Testament teacher, but he distorts scripture and sells millions of books advocating that. But as we've heard from the students, God has not abandoned the colleges and the universities. At many schools, he's placed a remnant of Christian professors who are in desperate need of encouragement and equipping so that they can reach the students and their colleagues, other professors. And so tonight you get to hear one of the good stories. This professor here is living out Psalm 71:18, and it says, "Do not forsake me, O God, till I declare your power to the next generation, your might to all who are to come." And so Dr. Shelley Myers, she's one of my favorite people. She's transparent, she's funny, she tells it like it is. And so like some coaches are players' coaches, Dr. Myers is a student's professor. And so she's the Dean of the College of Education and Health Professionals at Limestone University in Gaffney. She's been married to her husband Ernest for 22 years, and they have 2 children, Zach and Aniston, who's back there in the back. Wave for everybody, Aniston. I know you hate that kind of attention. So now Shelley's going to tell us a little bit about how Faculty Commons has influenced her.
With an introduction like that, I'm a little bit more nervous now than I was before. Thanks, John. So I have been a part of Faculty Commons since it started at Limestone, and so John and I go all the way back whenever that was. I don't remember. All the years, is anybody, like the years kind of blurred together whenever COVID hit, and I'm like, I don't even know what year it is right now. Like somebody's gonna have to let me know. But no, we, Faculty Commons on our campus is a kind of a misnomer because it's faculty and staff, and we are so very blessed to be on a campus that allows for faculty and staff and now administrators to be in those rooms together, because we don't get that opportunity very often, and we certainly don't get that opportunity whenever we're talking about spiritual things, whenever we're having conversations that are either deep Bible studies or they are like this week was, and they're therapy sessions, and we all needed it. And so I think that it's really important to know that there is a community on campus that is, we are praying for each other, we are praying each other through problems that we're dealing with our students, and we're also praying for our students and for our leaders on our campuses, but also within this area, within our state, within our nation. We pray for our president, no matter who happens to be the president at that time, whether that's at our institution or for our nation. And so we hold all those things very sacred because we know all of that impacts the work that we are able to do on our campuses. And so one of the things that I do every morning, a few years ago, I was finding myself overly busy, and I really knew that I needed to commit the time to have with Jesus so that I could handle the rest of my day. And so me and Jesus, we have coffee every morning at about 5:30 a.m. Sometimes it's earlier than that if my elderly chocolate lab decides that he needs to wake up and be fed. And so every morning I have my chair, I have my coffee, and Jesus and I sit down and have a conversation. And this morning I was really trying to think through, and I was praying, like, God, please just speak through me, speak with your heart, not mine, because mine is tainted. And so one of the things that God has started doing is, rather than letting me only have the conversation with him, he started introducing me to people in the Bible. And I'm not reading about those people, but it very much feels like I'm having a conversation with the people in the Bible. And I've stopped seeing them as characters in a Bible, but people who lived, who had experiences, who have something to teach me. And so that relationship has started to grow. And so I'm becoming very good friends with Solomon. I don't know if you've met Solomon or not, but I've met Solomon. Solomon and I are on, we're becoming pretty chummy right now. And I don't know if you know this about Solomon, but he was kind of a romantic kind of guy, a little bit to his detriment. And so I was not reading that book of Solomon, but instead I was in 2 Chronicles. And the scripture that was a part of my devotion this morning is really what I want you to know about Faculty Commons. And in 2 Chronicles, it says, and it's Solomon talking to God, and it's right whenever he's getting ready to take over as king, and he's a little bit nervous about it, and it's pretty evident in the prayer, in this conversation that they're having. It wasn't even a prayer there, he's literally talking to God. Like, I don't know how he gets to do that, and I don't, but he does. And so he says, give me wisdom and knowledge to rule them properly, for who is able to govern this great nation of yours? And if you change just a few words, you get the prayer that every Christian faculty member is praying right now. Give me wisdom and knowledge to lead them properly, for who is able to lead this great mission field of yours? Whether that mission field is a college campus, whether that mission field is in a hospital or in that home health care, or if you're that student who is trying to lead your roommate or someone who happens to be in your classroom. That is the prayer that we have as faculty members and as staff members on these college campuses, because the work that Faculty Commons is doing is equipping us to stand in that gap. We are in that gap between what my parents tried to teach me and how I'm processing that and how I'm going to use that in my life whenever I leave this place. And we get to be there for that. And that is such an honor and a privilege, and sometimes that can be really painful too. And so the support that we get from Faculty Commons is really, really important, because having those conversations and being able to debrief and talk through some of those situations is so very important, not just for us, but for them. And so please know that whenever you are supporting that ministry, that you're supporting a whole community of people who truly do care about the spiritual welfare of the students we are serving. And we care about each other, and we care about the crew missions that are happening on each of these campuses. And so I think that is really important to know. But I want to tell you the rest of that verse. God is now speaking to Solomon, and he says, because your greatest desire is to help your people, and you did not ask for your personal wealth or honor or death of your enemy or a long life, I'll grant you wisdom and knowledge. And so I ask you that you'll pray that for us, that he will grant us that wisdom and knowledge so that we can do the very best work that we can do, because some of those situations are scary, but that transition that they were all talking about when they go from being a kid and wanting to be an adult and starting making adult decisions and wanting to move out of that darkness that seems so attractive into that light that they know they should be standing in, that's a really important place for us to be able to stand. And so it is not all bleak. All professors are not evil. I hope that you understand that there are people in these communities who care so much about the students who are attending our institutions. And people like John who have the heart for ministry for us, I'm so thankful for, because I know he and I have done life together for over a decade now, I believe. And so we've seen a lot of people come and go, but at the same time we've built a really wonderful relationship in that I know that I can call him whenever I am facing a decision, or if I'm dealing with a student who's at a critical juncture. And so I just want to say thank you, and I want to say that your work and your prayer and your support for these ministries all throughout Cru in every division are not in vain. So thank you so much for giving me a few minutes to speak with you. Have a great evening.
Shelley brings up another point, that we've got great students, but they're gone after 4 years. The great thing about godly professors is they're there typically at the same institution for 10, 20, 30 years. And the legacy that they can leave behind, if they're equipped early on, if they're reached with the gospel, if they're equipped and discipled, it's like they can influence, especially with education, influence 80 to 90 years of students. So that's the beauty of working with professors. So now I'd like to invite Mark Bushel to come up. Mark's just been a great friend ever since they moved to Spartanburg 12 years ago. Yeah, so you'll enjoy what he has to say.
Thanks. Keep it. Why don't you hang on to that, John? Well, thank you all for being here tonight. Goes right there. So we appreciate y'all being here. It means a lot to us. And you know, as you've heard from Grayson and from John and from others, we believe that the college campus is one of the most strategic populations to reach. The vision is that those we reach on the campus today are going to become the laborers for Christ around the world tomorrow. And so we're convinced that this worldwide network of college students and professors is an express way in which the gospel can spread all over the world. So later tonight, I have the privilege of giving you an opportunity to partner with us in reaching students and professors like you've heard from tonight. And one of those ways is going to be financial. This year, we're trusting God to raise up $18,000 to help us reach the roughly 70,000 students and 6,000 faculty across the upstate. And we would love your help. And so, as we think about your giving this year, there's three main areas that we want your giving to make an impact. The first one is launching new faculty and student movements across the upstate. And we're especially this coming fall, we want to see God start something at Spartanburg Community College. Number two would be freshman strategies, using things like our freshman survival kits to reach the incoming class of future leaders on these campuses. And then number three, student scholarships, to help us get students to things like a fall retreat or a men's and women's retreat or a summer mission somewhere around the world with Cru. And so all in all, your giving will make an impact through evangelism and discipleship, because that's what we're all about with Cru. God is at work. He owns all the resources in the world, and he tells us in his word to ask big and to make our requests of him, because nothing is too great for him. And so in faith tonight, we want to ask you to partner with us, and then we just want to trust God to provide. So let me give you a picture very briefly of how your gifts can make a difference. Here's a few ideas that we had. So a gift of $500 over tonight, all tonight, or over the course of the next year, would provide something like 100 freshmen at a place like USC Upstate or Limestone with a freshman survival kit. And what that is it's a gift we give to freshmen free of charge, and it allows us to actually sit down with them on a one-to-one basis later and get to know them and hopefully share the gospel with them. You know, earlier you saw the video of Estrella at Converse, and she's on that acrobatics and tumbling team. And on that team, 7 of the 8 girls are freshmen. And God has given our staff girls, Emma and Laura, just a tremendous ministry on that team with these freshman girls. And Estrella mentioned she came to Christ this year because of Emma and one of her teammates, Emily. There's another girl on the team named Noah, and God has just given her a huge heart to share her faith at Converse. And so we get to come alongside her and equip her and help her in that. And so this is just one example of what God is doing at a place like Converse. And it all started with God giving us the resources to go after freshmen and to reach freshmen. Here's another idea. A gift of $1,000 would provide the resources necessary to attempt to launch a movement on a campus here coming up in August. We have seen the Lord do that big time this year at Greenville Tech. You heard a little bit about that from Natalie. But one of our student leaders, Jordan, why don't you raise your hand, Jordan? She's in the back. God gave her a vision to launch a weekly Bible study and a community night on campus there at Greenville Tech. And this thing just blew up. We went from a handful of students to 25, 30 students on a weekly basis, even more. And so through that weekly gathering, we got connected to an international student from Albania named Alvi. And so by God's grace, Andrew and another student leader, Adam, who's here somewhere. Adam, raise your hand. He's back there in the corner too. They got to share the gospel with Alvi, and he trusted Christ this semester. And so they meet together now weekly to disciple him and help him grow in his faith. And it's all because God allowed us to further launch this movement at Greenville Tech and help us get to know students on that campus. And so we just want to trust God to do the same somewhere else, maybe Spartanburg Community College here in the fall. And then lastly, a gift of something like $2,500 with scholarship about 30 of our students to go to our winter conference. This is one of my favorite things we do every year because every year at this conference, we see students make significant lordship decisions. And they're raised up and sent out either that summer or for the rest of their life, wherever God takes them. I want to tell you about Garrett. He's one of those students. He's here too. Where are you, Garrett? Right over here in the back. That's Garrett. So he's a student at USC Upstate. I think about the first thing he ever did with us was a winter conference about a year ago. And so that helped him get plugged into the movement at USC Upstate. And then he went on a summer mission with Cru this past summer in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. And one of the big things that they do on that summer mission is reach out to international students. The Lord brings the nations to the Smoky Mountains every summer. These students work in the various tourist places and all that kind of stuff and in Smoky Mountains. And so one of the things that they do is try to befriend and develop relationships and share the gospel with these international students. And Garrett had a chance to do that with 3 guys from the Dominican Republic in particular. And he told me, I was talking to him, I think last week, and he said, that's something I never thought I would have the opportunity to do, is to reach people from another nation like that on a summer mission. And so Garrett is a leader now at our movement at USC Upstate, and he told me that when he thinks about Cru, he thinks about people who genuinely love and care for him and help him grow in his faith. And all that started by coming to a winter conference and then going on a summer mission with Cru. So these are just some of the exciting things that God is doing. And so we know that many of you are going to want to give tonight. But let me say this before we go any farther, and I really mean this. You are under no obligation to do so. We're just glad that you're here. Our prayer is that you would walk away encouraged by what God's doing and that you would just walk away drawn closer to Jesus and praising Him for how He's at work in the lives of real people, whether you're able to give or not. But we know that many of you will want to. And so there's going to be 2 ways. After in just a few minutes, I'll share more, but there's going to be 2 ways that you can do that. One is through a one-time gift tonight or over the course of the next year. And then the other is a monthly commitment. And we would ask you to commit for 1 year, but of course encourage you to give beyond that as the Lord enables. But let me also say this. I think this is important. This commitment between you and the Lord is not a part of your tithes and offerings to your local church. We want to partner alongside the local church to reach our campuses for Christ. And so we would not want your gift to come from what would normally go to your church for your tithes and offerings. This would be above and beyond that as the Lord enables. And then last thing, let me say this. I know that many of you already support some of our staff here, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you so much. And do not redirect your giving away from them to give tonight. And in fact, I would challenge you to increase what you're giving to them, double what you're giving to them, because they are our greatest resource, even if it means giving less tonight. They aren't able to be on campus full-time, reaching students and professors for Jesus every day if there's not people who are standing beside them and working alongside them and giving so that they can devote themselves to the mission. And so I have seen it firsthand. God uses these staff tremendously each and every time they step foot on campus. And so we want to see them fully funded so that they can continue reaching and building into these students and professors. Probably everyone that you've seen on this stage tonight, the part of their story is a staff person behind them, helping them grow, equipping them, preparing them to reach folks that they bump up against every day on the college campus and their friends and peers and everything. So do be praying, though, about what he would have you to give concerning the needs that we're sharing this evening. But next, I want you to hear from Hank Williams. Some of you may know him, but if not, he's the senior pastor at Boiling Springs First Baptist Church. So thanks for being here, Hank.
Thank you, Mark. It is an honor to be here tonight and share why I think Cru is vital to the Upstate. And I would say that for a couple reasons. First of all, Cru is vital to the Upstate because it's a high-impact ministry. I love the fact that Cru, in its long history, and it has a long, rich history. If you haven't studied and learned the history of Cru, you need to go back and read about Dr. Bill Bright, Yvonne Bright, and how that ministry began multi-generationally. But they have stayed lashed to the gospel. They have maintained a laser focus on the Great Commission in Matthew 28. To go, therefore, make disciples of all nations, baptizing in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all that I've commanded, and lo, I'm with you to the end of the age. Cru has stayed focused on that mission. But I want to be very personal about why I believe this is a high-impact ministry, because it's impacted my life, my family, my ministry in a significant way. Mary Ann, who's going to be here tonight, she is watching our grandchildren. They're spending the night, and grandchildren's always trump everything else, so they get priority over everything. So I'm here without her, but I love the fact that Cru touches students from every background. Miriam was raised in a home where she'd never heard the gospel. She was not raised in a Christian home at all. She was saved through another parachurch organization called Young Life in Windy Gap, Weaverville, North Carolina, when she was 16 years of age. She arrived on Clemson Campus University as a young freshman and a very young believer, and had very little rootedness in her faith, other than a few Christian friends that she had been hanging out with for the year previous to arriving at Clemson. And it was somebody that invited her to Cru. At that time, Cru was the largest Christian organization on Clemson campus, and it was an amazing organization, and she became involved in Cru. And it was Cru that she would attribute those early foundational years of discipling. They really, through small group and through their large gatherings and through the friendships and the community that she found through Cru, really was the foundation of her faith. It's where she learned to study the Bible. It's where she learned to understand and identify who she was in Jesus Christ. And so she really attributes the impact of Cru to those formative foundational years of her spiritual journey early on. Had a huge impact in her life. Cru also had an impact on my life in a very different way. I was raised in a very different home. My father was a minister. I was raised in a great Christian home. I came to Christ early in life, was called into ministry when I was 9 years of age, and went to a school about 4 miles from Clemson University, now called IWU, Indiana, not IWU, but SWU, not Indiana, but Southern Wesleyan University. It was Central Wesleyan University, or campus at that time, college. And I was a sophomore. We had some friends that got involved in Cru. They were having a lot of dual things that we were going to join in the Clemson campus. And so for us guys at the small campus at Central, we're glad and excited to get to join, to go to those on the big campus at Clemson University. And quite honestly, the motivation that we were given was there'll be a lot of good-looking girls. And so we were highly motivated in that regard. So we went to campus, to Clemson, to a joint Campus Crusade, or Cru, in my sophomore year. And a buddy and I were scholarshiped to go to spring break to Daytona Beach, right? And so, in all honesty, I'm confessing, I'm a preacher's kid. I grew up in the church. I had walked with the Lord really most of my young adult life. Certainly knew the Lord even at that time, was walking with Him, but was, I would say, at a Christian campus, pretty lethargic, pretty spiritually anemic in many ways. Because it was kind of the common culture to live for the Lord and know the Lord. But anyway, these Campus Crusade people at Clemson were radical, man. They were serious. They were zealous. And they were actually going to Daytona Beach, Florida for one purpose, to have gospel conversations. Well, we were scholarship, Dwayne and I were scholarship to be able to go, and so that wasn't our motivation. Again, we're thinking Daytona Beach, spring break, wow, what a great opportunity. Of course we'll go. So we got on the bus with all these Campus Crusade, all these crew folks, and man, all the way down there, they're just talking about the excitement, the passion, the zeal, the opportunity to be able to share with people and look for opportunities for gospel conversations, see people come to know Christ. And I'm sitting there, a preacher's kid, I've been in church all my life, and I'm like, man, I don't have that fire. And I observed, man, wow, that was so powerful. So we get down there, the first thing they did, of course, was Daytona Beach, it's hot, we have t-shirts and shorts, and they put these glow-in-the-dark armbands on your wrist, right? So that you can be identified by everybody else as some alien that's there. Invaders at Daytona Beach for spring break. And so they put that on Dwayne and I, and the first thing we did was take a dive off the diving board in the pool, and on the impact, pulled those loose and told them, well, they broke, the impact of going into the water was so significant that it broke those armbands off. And so we no longer identified, kind of separated ourselves from the group, and began to check out Daytona Beach. Every time we come back together for meals, whatever, they would be sharing with such excitement, with tears often, about gospel conversations and things that have been happening and the way God was working and moving and how God was speaking to them and through them. And I have to tell you, man, God began to use them to speak to me, to say, what's the deal with me? Why am I, a preacher's kid, a guy that's grown up in my church all my life, at a Christian school? Man, I don't have that. I don't have that kind of passion for the lost, that kind of burden, that kind of genuine desire for those gospel conversations. And man, it was a come to Jesus moment in my life. Really defining moment, shaping in many ways by the influence of the crew, not only staff, but the other students. And I took a long walk and had a come to Jesus time in my own life about, God, man, I know that I'm clearly not zealous for you, not passionate to follow you, and that others would come to know you. It was a really awakening in my life spiritually. And as I was doing that, weeping and before the Lord and just crying out to Him, being renewed and encouraged, I said, Lord, if you give me an opportunity, I'll share with somebody. Of course, they've trained us well how to share our faith. 4 spiritual laws, I think, was the things we were using at that time. And I said, the next guy, if he comes by, the next person I see, if they say something to me, I'm going to share with them. Praying that the next person wouldn't say anything. The next person walks by and he speaks first and said, hey, my name is David. I'm like, okay. I said, my name is Hank Williams. You know where that went, right? Those of you too young to know who Hank Williams is, he's a very famous country music singer that I was named after. My dad named me after Hank Sr. So I have that name. So I spent the next 20, 30 minutes telling the Hank name story. But we engaged in conversation. Long story short, after an hour or two, I shared the gospel with David Ditko, and he came to know the Lord. And it was an amazing moment in my life, obviously in his life as well. And we shared contact information and prayed together. And it was so I became ablaze. I became on fire. I became so excited. And so I'm hanging around Dwayne, and he's like, "What is going on with you, man? You know, what are you doing?" I said, "I'm one of them. You know, I want to tell people about Jesus. I want to have gospel conversations. This thing is real, Dwayne. Here's what happened." A couple weeks later, back at the campus, I got a letter from David. And he said, I didn't tell you at the time, but he said, I want to tell you now. My girlfriend had broken up with me. I'm from Alabama. My girlfriend had broken up with me just before that event, before coming to Daytona Beach. And we would get married, and it crushed me. I mean, I had been in my apartment since that time, not speaking to anybody, really determined to take my life. I was literally going to Daytona Beach to go to a hotel room to take my life the night that you came and that we met. I had determined that night I was going to end my life. And he said, God had other things in plan. I came to end my life, and it was the beginning of my life. at Daytona Beach when I found Christ. We kept in touch for a number of years, and he married and had a great family and continued to live for the Lord. So Cru had a huge impact on my own life and my own passion to see people come to know the Lord and have gospel conversations. Impact on my marriage. Mary and I met at fall retreat at Awanatah Valley at a Cru weekend. That's how we were officially introduced, and so I have a great debt to Cru because of that as well. So in my ministry, in my family, Cru is a high impact ministry. It really does. It's changing lives. It's impacting people. But the second thing I would say about Cru, and the reason I can stand here with confidence and say, we're investing in it, and I think that you ought to, and it's worthy of our stewardship of giving our resources, our time, and our treasure in any way that we can, is because it's a high yield ministry. I love the philosophy of ministry of Cru in this regard. It really is life on life. You know, Paul said to the church of Thessalonica, he said, listen, we not only proclaim the gospel to you, but we have poured our very lives into you. We have literally invested ourselves in the ministry of you. We've done life with you. And that's the philosophy of Cru. When you hear the staffers and the students, it's about life on life. It's about investing in. It's a ministry that yields an amazing return on investment for the kingdom. Eternally in advancing the kingdom, but also in even here and now, in making a difference. It's a high yield ministry. Yves Klein is a unique artist from France who died in 1962, but he had sort of a unique niche. He would make invisible art. Literally, it was invisible. You would have to use your imagination. There was nothing there on the pedestal, but there was a little receipt there that would validate this is a zone of something. And there was nothing there. It was an invisible. And yet it sold for crazy amounts of money. As a matter of fact, in 1959, he had this creation, Yves, called A Zone of Empty Space. Check it out. 2 days ago, it was sold in 1959. Now, this was kind of a ritual with Yves. When he would sell one of his zones, invisible art, usually the person would burn the receipt, and he desired only to be paid in pure gold. He would take half, if they burned the receipt, he would take half of the gold and throw it into a river in France. And so most people don't have anything remaining because there is nothing to show, and they burned the receipt. 1959, he sold this zone of empty space, but the person there chose not to burn the receipt. 2 days ago, April 6th, the zone of empty space sold in France for $1.2 million. And all they have to show for it is a receipt. There's nothing there. It's called the zone of empty space. I can say this is a ministry that has a lot to show, that is visible. There are changed lives. Yes, there's a receipt. If you need a receipt, a tax-exempt receipt, there's a receipt. But that's not really the return, right? The return is eternal. The return is kingdom. The return is changed lives. Look around the room. There is visible fruit, and has been for generations because of Cru. Because I love the fact that Mark shared, and I really appreciate that spirit that says, listen, we're not here to take the place of local church. Your tithes and offerings belong to the church. Man, I respect organizations. I was in itinerant ministry in Pure Church for 20 years prior to pastoring. And we try to make that. I love the fact that they say that, because I view this as a partnership as a pastor. I see Cru as a part of the team, and that we can work and share together, not in any way a competition. And I think that's the right view. And so I can say, man, be generous, because this is a high yield ministry. It's going to yield incredible fruit for the kingdom. It's going to impact lives eternally. It really is. You'll be able to see the difference that is made. You'll have more than a receipt. You'll see changed lives. So, man, I love this ministry. I'm thankful for it, and so thankful to be a part of it. Marion and I, in some form or fashion, have been a part of Cru for many, many years, and hope to continue to do that in the years to come. So thanks, Mark.
Thanks so much, Shane. I didn't know that was amazing. I didn't know all that. And I was super thrilled to buy the Zone of Empty Space, and I'd be happy to show you all in a few days, or you won't see it, but I'll show it to you. Well, thanks so much, Hank. Some of y'all may have heard before of a guy named William Carey. He was a British shoemaker, actually, in the late 1700s, and he became a career missionary in India, and he's often called the father of modern missions because he really helped revolutionize the way that the church sends missionaries. And one of the things that set Carey's ministry apart was the way that he modeled partnership with his co-laborers back in England. Before he left for India, he famously told those who were sending him, he said, "I'll climb down if you will hold the ropes. I'll climb down if you'll hold the ropes." Carey was willing to follow God's call, but he knew that he couldn't do it alone. He knew he wasn't equipped to do it by himself. He needed a team of people who would hold the ropes. He needed people who would partner with him and supply the resources that he needed to do what God had called him to do. And so tonight we would ask you to consider holding the ropes for us as we climb down into the sometimes daunting task of reaching the academic world for Christ. And so tonight we would ask you to give to the Lord and to partner with what he's doing here in the upstate. Jesus said that he came to seek and save the lost. And that's what we're about with Cru. So here's some ways that you can partner with us. The first way you can partner with us is through your prayers. We desperately need people who will stand behind us in prayer on a consistent basis. There is a spiritual battle taking place for the minds and hearts of college students and professors. And so we need people who will pray with us and alongside of us. And not just not say it, but actually do it. And so to help you in that, we have a monthly prayer letter that we send out, either by mail or email, however you want it. And it just shares some stories of what God's doing and how he's working, and then some specific ways that you can pray for us. And so in a few moments, you'll get a slip, an envelope, and there will be a place on there where you can tell us if you want to receive that monthly prayer letter, and if so, mail, email, how you want to get that. So you can pray with us. And then number two, you can partner with us through your time and your energy. Maybe you'd want to host students in your home from time to time, or cook some food for a student event, or even meet personally with a student in your area. So again, there'll be a box for you to indicate that on that envelope, and then we'd love to just follow up and sit down and talk with you more. And then number three, lastly, we would invite you to partner with us through your finances. Again, we want to see God do three main things with your giving this year. Number one, launching new student and faculty movement on campuses around the upstate. Hopefully Spartanburg Community College is one place we're kind of targeting, but really wherever the Lord leads and wherever he opens doors. Number two, freshman strategies, using things like those freshman survival kits and other resources to help us reach this incoming class that'll hit campuses here in August, not too long. And then number three, student scholarships. Help us get students on things like a summer mission or a fall retreat or a winter conference. So thank you so much for considering joining with us. And so at this time, someone at your table should have a manila folder, manila envelope. And if you'll open that up and if you'll pass around to everyone at your table, one per person or one per couple, three things: a pen, an envelope, and then the little slip of paper. And I want to direct your attention to that envelope as you receive it. So don't start to fill it out yet until I've had a chance to look at it with you, kind of explain it to you, and then pray for you. Give me just a moment. So as you look at that slip of paper in there, if you'll look on the left-hand side, you'll see that you can indicate if you wanted to make a gift tonight, over the course of the next 90 days, or over the course of the next 12 months. And you can put that amount in there. You'll see right below that, if you want to partner with us through your time or energy, there's a place for you to indicate that on the left-hand side. And in that middle column, if you wanted to give a monthly gift, you can put that amount in there. And then for a total of however much that is over the course of the next year. That's what that means. And then, of course, if you want to give by check, you can include that in there. A credit card, we keep this secure, so you can put that on there. Make sure you sign it, of course. And then on the right side, if you would just give us your contact info, and if you want to receive that monthly prayer letter, you can put that there by mail or email. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And so let me pray for you. Whatever the Lord has put you in a position to give, I just want to pray for you and then ask you to fill out that envelope. So, God, thank you so much for this evening. Thank you for the encouragement of hearing what you're doing in the lives of students and professors. Lord, as someone who's worked with Cru for so many years, Lord, just consider it a privilege. And hearing folks like Hank and students here, Lord, how you've worked in people's lives, Lord, what a privilege it's been for us to be a part of that. So, Lord, I give you thanks for that. And Lord, I give you thanks for each one here tonight, Lord. Their presence here, Lord, is such an encouragement to us. We know that they love you, that they care, Lord. And so as we consider your lordship even over our finances tonight, Lord, we give you thanks for your sovereignty, Lord, that you've blessed us in the way that you have. And so, Lord, we want to be a blessing to others as well. So, Lord, I pray for my friends here, and we pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. All right.